Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the AM Report for Haps News, the network of now. I'm Alex Mahajer. It's Wednesday, March 10th, and this morning we're talking about Piers Morgan, the UK news personality and blowhard, walking off set and apparently parting ways with Good Morning Britain, the major morning news show over there across the pond, over his coverage of Meghan Markle and criticisms he got for his live coverage of her. We're going to talk about that, the COVID relief bill that's passing today, expected to pass today and be signed by President Biden today. That is not just economic stimulus, but really transformational change in the way our economy will work. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the PRO Act, which has passed the House, which is the strongest bill to support labor organizing in a generation, and why the filibuster must end. All of this and more this morning on the AM Report. Thank you so much, guys. I'm Alex Mahajer. If you're watching on the Haps app, website, or platform, click the award button. Let me know you're enjoying the broadcast. Or if you're watching on Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, wherever you might be watching, leave a comment. I can see them. We can bat around live together on air. We have a lot of people chiming in already this morning. Good morning, Pablo from Los Angeles. Good to see you. Good morning, Let It Be from Reno. Good old Reno. Hey, good morning, CT from San Francisco, one of the first places I hope to go visit once this, it's safe to, CDC says it's safe to do so. Hoping to come up there and see you guys up in the Bay. So this morning, it's not exactly political, but I think important. I have said that I'm not sure that I find the royals to be particularly interesting, but what I do find very interesting is toppling institutions of oppression, misogyny, racism, patriarchy, monarchy. Very, very interesting. And the death rattle of these institutions is also very fascinating to me. And that is made no more evident than in this drama that's unfolding with UK news media personality Piers Morgan, who walked off the set of his Good Morning Britain show after being criticized on air by his co-presenter Alex Beresford, who was condemning him live on air for his treatment of Meghan Markle, kind of exposed that they had previously had a relationship with one another, they knew one another, and that really Piers Morgan's just really relentless trashing of Meghan Markle, even after this Oprah interview that took place on Sunday, is really probably inspired due in large part to his own personal feelings of being miffed by her and endemic racism and misogyny in the way our institutions cover and treat people, especially people who are speaking out against those systems of oppression, which I just think is so interesting. So Piers Morgan walks off the set. We do have that video for you. I'm going to play it for you now. Check it out, and let's talk about it in just a moment.
What has happened with Prince Harry in this situation? He walked behind his mother's coffin at a tender age in front of the globe. That is going to shape a young boy for the rest of his life. So I think that we need to all take a step back. And I understand that you don't like Meghan Markle. You've made it so clear a number of times on this program, a number of times. And I understand that you've got a personal relationship with Meghan Markle, or had one, and she cut you off. She's entitled to cut you off if she wants to. Has she said anything about you since she cut you off? I don't think she has, but yet you continue to... What has happened with Prince Harry in this situation? He walked behind his mother's coffin at a tender age in front of the globe. That is going to shape a young boy for the rest of his life. So I think that we need to all take a step back. And I understand that you don't like Meghan Markle. You've made it so clear a number of times on this program, a number of times. And I understand that you've got a personal relationship with Meghan Markle, or had one, and she cut you off. She's entitled to cut you off if she wants to. Has she said anything about you since she cut you off? I don't think she has, but yet you continue to trash her.
Okay. I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no. Sorry.
Do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can trash me, maybe not my own
No.
stuff. See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do
This is
this.
absolutely diabolical behaviour. I'm sorry, but Piers spouts off on a regular basis, and we all have to sit there and listen. 6:30 to 7 o'clock yesterday was incredibly hard to watch.
So, commenter Carly Mencken Bieber, good to see you, Carly, is saying, was he fired or what, did he quit? What's the tea? And it's not clear. I mean, he walked off set after being called out by his co-presenter, and then his co-presenter sort of aired more grievances against him. Like, we got to listen to this guy spout off his racist crap all day, every day, and we're not allowed to respond without him getting all salty and walking off the set. What we do know is that ITV, which is the production studio that runs this show, received 40,000 complaints, which they tweeted about. They released a statement saying they've parted ways with him. It's not clear whether he quit or was fired. My inclination here is that he was fired, but we will never fully know. What a child, says Cullen. That was hardly even a roast. Yeah, it wasn't even, it's to me, like I said, it's the death rattle of institutions of misogyny, toxic masculinity being rattled. And, the dude can't take it. And we see how defensive it gets. Very, very interesting to me to watch these kinds of systems start to break down. So Piers Morgan, over his racist coverage of Meghan Markle walking off set, and he's a blowhard and good riddance. In political news, all right, let's get back to some good old-fashioned American politics. Biden's COVID-19 relief package is expected to pass again in the House today and be on the president's desk for signature today. It's a $1.9 trillion relief package. Now, it's not this bill is not just an economic stimulus. It is actually a platform for generational transformation of the economy. And it's $1.9 trillion, and that's because it does much more than just stimulate the economy. This is a huge win for the president and for the country, really. It's got broad bipartisan support by voters of both parties. And it's got tax credits for children and low-income workers, an extension of health insurance subsidies and nutritional and rental assistance, and it's going to stimulate more than just the economy. It's a really big, massive overhaul of the economy, and should be a springboard for more change. There were some things that were left out of the bill because of parliamentarian rules and Republican obstruction. Okay, one of them is the minimum wage, which is a moral imperative. A minimum wage increase has not happened in the United States in 12 years. Inflation, the cost of living, the cost of rent, the cost of housing has far outpaced the wage increases in the United States over the last 40, 50 years, and we haven't had any wage increases. Wages have remained stagnant, and yet the cost of living has become astronomical, and a federal minimum wage earner working a full-time job right now makes about $15,000 a year. It's below the poverty line. And a $15 minimum wage increase isn't even keeping pace with inflation. So that Republicans are fighting this and that some Democrats don't support a full $15 minimum wage increase is shameful. So we need to be putting pressure on our legislators to increase the minimum wage. These Republicans particularly lined up to sign a $2.3 trillion tax cut for the wealthy in 2017, Trump's tax cuts. But when it comes down to raising the wages for working class people or supporting labor unions, which I'm going to talk about next, the Republicans they're nonplussed. They are persona non grata. They do not wish to support these kinds of needed economic changes to our system, which is stacked against those at the bottom and meant to benefit only those who are wealthy. Student loan reform, all of these things need massive overhauls because of the way that they are keeping working class Americans in poverty. 50% of the country lives below the poverty line in the United States. Food insecurity has become a major problem. In the United States, we're supposed to be the first world. So altogether, this COVID relief package will pass today. Let's change to Chiron so it's not Piers Morgan walking off. There you go. Sorry. I can only do so many things at once. So we're keeping our eyes on that. And in the House, speaking of workers' rights and the working class, the House has just passed the Protecting the Right to Organize Act, which passed the House. Advocates are calling the PRO Act the most important labor legislation in several generations. This is a bill, and I'll note, the Republicans have been trying to strip away labor rights and dismantle labor unions over their work in their legislation over the last few years particularly. But the bill would provide new protections to workers seeking to unionize and penalize companies that violate workers' rights. It also, amid the rise of the gig economy with Lyft and Uber, it could also make it more difficult for companies like Uber to continue classifying their drivers as independent contractors. These are people who work for people who work a full-time job in the gig economy. They need more protections. This is the new frontier, as it were, of our economy. And we need to keep pace with that and make sure we're protecting our workers. So this is incredibly important legislation that's passed the House, and now it will go to the Senate, where it will likely die, along with a great deal of other legislation, because the Senate, an undemocratic institution, has a 50-50 split between Democrats and Republicans. Now, Democrats have the majority because the vice president presides over the Senate. Kamala Harris is a Democrat. She gets to cast the tie-breaking vote. But the rules of the Senate right now allow for filibustering any piece of legislation. It requires 60 votes to end debate on any kind of filibuster of any kind of legislation, which means a supermajority is needed in the Senate to make any legislation happen, unless that legislation is confirming right-wing judges or budget reconciliation. So we just saw the COVID-19 relief package pass through the Senate with a simple majority because it's a budget reconciliation bill, and Democrats will have one more opportunity this year to do that. You can only do it once a year. Republicans missed their opportunity to do it last year, so Democrats will have 2 tries at it this year to pass budget-related items. But for any other type of legislation, the H.R. 1, the Voting Rights Act, the Equality Act, the PRO Act, the minimum wage increases, climate change legislation, all of this will die in the Senate unless we get some movement on ending the filibuster, which really got turbocharged under Obama's administration by Mitch McConnell. It was never used this way until Mitch McConnell decided he wanted to obstruct everything that Barack Obama tried to do during his presidency. So in the face of this imperiled groundbreaking legislation, the PRO Act H.R. 1, Senate Democrats are facing increased pressure to end the filibuster, or at least gut it, reform it. And Democratic holdouts like our very own Dianne Feinstein here in California, Kristen Sinema, Democrat of Arizona, Joe Manchin of West Virginia, they're facing increased pressure to end or reform the filibuster. Previously, Joe Manchin has said that he's not in support of ending the filibuster. Kirsten Sinema has said she's not in support of ending the filibuster. Very misguided. It's a very racist institution that has its roots in the Jim Crow South. The original founders of the Constitution did not spoke out against the filibuster explicitly, saying supermajority rule in the Senate would lead to chaos and is not democratic. And yet here we are. So we're getting some word now, after this pressure mounting, that Joe Manchin of West Virginia is interested in reforming the filibuster in a way that could be very important for Democrats. Here's what he had to say the other day on Axios, in an interview with Axios.
Would you support any kind of filibuster reform?
The only thing I have even considered or thought of is basically some through the history, how it used to be.
Making them talk.
There should be pain to a filibuster. There should be pain.
And what is the
pain?
pain?
Talking, basically. You
got to read the phone book or whatever.
That's it. Do whatever, but make sure you have a little bit of pain. Just don't say, well, no, I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to vote for that. And
what other pain?
Well, you have the pain basically is the filibuster, talking filibuster. They've talked before. Some of the rules could be changed a little bit, but not to the point where just a simple majority rules. That's all.
So, commenter says, Renee is saying, didn't President Biden say he wouldn't get rid of the filibuster. So President Biden's press secretary, Jen Psaki, did announce yesterday that he is, I want to get this quote exactly right because I think the wording is very important. His preference is not to make changes to the filibuster rules. This is not saying he's against ending the filibuster. This is, in my view, that's a warning shot to Republicans. We can do this peacefully. Let's get this legislation done peacefully. Work with me. I'm still giving you a chance here. Cooperate. Republicans won't. Not a single Republican voted for COVID relief in the Senate. 49 no votes, and one person, Dan Stevens of Alaska, didn't show up. So I think Jen Psaki's statement is very, very important in that it's his preference, but he's going to do it. And then we hear Joe Manchin say it should be painful. It would change the game if Democrats amended the rules, not to eliminate the filibuster, but to say you can't just clock your filibuster through an email, register your filibuster through an email, right? Which is what you can do right now. You just send an email, you register your filibuster, and then it just dies. The bill dies. Now he's saying you got to get up there and talk, read the phone book. And eventually people can't talk forever. They got to stop talking eventually. So that means that there's an end in sight for the way the filibuster is being used. And Charles saying these Republicans don't want to do anything with Democrats, do they? No, they want to obstruct the Democratic agenda. It's a highly partisan time. Jay Opera says, I like right-to-work states where each person can choose to be under a union contract or choose a letter contract where you work as an independent contractor. Food for thought. Very good point. Thanks for that comment, Jay. I love the Piers picture, says Raymond. Hello from New Delhi. Man, I love seeing people chime in from around the world. So good to see you. And CT says, reminds me of Wendy Davis filibustering for abortion rights. Surprised it's just an email now. Yeah, when Democrats, that's a prolific example. Thank you for that. She was a hero. She got up and she look up Wendy Davis's filibuster in Texas, trying to stand up for women's rights. It should be painful. It should be painful. And when the shoe's on the other foot, we've had to endure a great deal of pain. Republicans should have to suffer pain if they want to filibuster and obstruct. I'll note the Democrats have a 50-50 split in the Senate, but represent 40 million more Americans. 40 million more Americans than Republicans do in the Senate. And so that you require a 60-vote supermajority to do the work of the American majority is absurd, and it needs to end. And this legislation is imperiled. All of this progressive change that the Democrats are seeking to effectuate is imperiled if senators like Dianne Feinstein right here in California don't get behind. If you're interested in pressuring Dianne Feinstein into ending the filibuster, I have shared a link in the comments section. You can visit at haps.tv/@Alex, petitioning, asking Senator Feinstein to vote to end the filibuster. And Kyrsten Sinema, Joe Manchin, it's time to come on board. We need you guys to get with us, get with the program. So this has been the AM Report with Alex Majer for Haps News Network of Now. We're live every weekday morning with all of your quick political news and headlines to get your day started right. If you like this journalism, if you like this content, please consider subscribing or sponsoring it. You can do that at haps.tv/@Alex, where you can click subscribe, get notifications. We're going live every morning. Or if you're so inclined, become a recurring monthly sponsor. Buy me a cup of coffee if you like. Help support independent journalism. We'll be back tomorrow morning with all of your latest. Thanks for joining, you guys, and thanks for the awards. Raymond, the Appreciate You Award. Thank you guys. Let's see. Let It Be, the Appreciate You Award. Thanks, Colin. Thank you for the High Five Award. I love that. Thank you guys so much. And Renee, thank you for the Stay Safe Award. Appreciate you guys. We will see you all tomorrow morning, and stay safe out there. Bye-bye.